Hi, everybody. I hope that you're doing well. It continues to be a quiet time here in Ontario with the lockdown that we're under, and I bet most of you saw the news or the announcement earlier today about an upcoming stay-at-home order. So it seems like things are going to stay pretty tight, pretty quiet, pretty locked down. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're staying safe and healthy and picking up the phone, talking to friends and family, staying as connected as we're able to during this time. And we will get through it. What I wanted to do today is share some Bible verses spoken by Jesus that are very well known. And then I want to tell a story that might not seem like it has that much to do with those verses, but then I want to try to make a connection. So we'll see if it lands. So the Bible verses that we're going to look at are from the book of Matthew, chapter 5. And in Matthew 5, Jesus is delivering to crowds of people on a mountainside what we call the Sermon on the Mount. And in the course of that sermon, he says these words. He says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." So Jesus is telling his listeners, you are the light of the world. You need to let your light shine. He really delivers that point at the end when he says, let your light shine before others. Well, what does that mean? He explains it, that they may see your good deeds. That's how your light shines. And when they see your good deeds, they glorify your Father who is in heaven. So what this is saying to us is that our faith has to move past our heads and get into our hands. That it has to be more than ideas. It has to be lived out in good deeds. So here's the story I want to tell you. It's about a woman who is talking to her father, and she is environmentally conscious, and she's aware of native species and how much they help the flora and fauna of the local environment and insect species and all this stuff. So she's saying to her dad, it would be wonderful if on that well-manicured lawn that you have, if you could plant some native species instead of all these sort of decorative non-native species that look very nice but don't do anything for the local environment. And her dad wasn't having any of it. He liked his lawn and his yard to be just for looks. So eventually, after talking to him about this again and again and telling him her value set and her position on the issue, she eventually gave up and sort of moved on. And she got involved in her own way in local environmental initiatives, including the local Monarch Watch, where she would go and plant milkweeds. Milkweeds is the kind of plant that monarch butterflies are attracted to and in fact need. And so she would plant these milkweeds in public spaces and in parks and in yards and things like that. And she got so busy with this that she began asking her father to watch her kids. So he was spending more time with his grandkids. And so she'd be out, planting these milkweeds. And finally he asked, what is taking up so much of your time that you need to be away so much? And so she explained to him that monarch butterfly populations have declined by about 96% in the course of 10 years. Now this suddenly got his attention. He could remember monarch butterflies from his childhood. He had a connection with them. And so he surprised her one day when he called her up and said, maybe you could plant a few milkweeds in my own yard. And then he surprised his daughter even more a few days later when he started calling her with all these updates. I saw a monarch. A monarch laid an egg. Then he said, I don't think there's enough food for the monarch caterpillars. I need more milkweed plants. Could you plant more? And so it went for the rest of the summer. So this father was totally hooked. And here's what it says. Her father had transformed in mere days from someone utterly detached from the natural world to someone enthralled by it, all because he had gained personal experience with a beautiful butterfly that is in trouble. The key to his transformation was a personal experience. And what I think that story shows us, if we can use it as a parable, as a metaphor for faith, is that working with just ideas isn't sufficient for bringing our faith to a flourishing place in this world and in our lives. These ideas have to get from our heads and be lived out in our hands. And that's where it's going to go in the direction that Jesus tells his listeners in the Sermon on the Mount. Let your good deeds shine before others. And when they have an experience, then they will see there is something different about you and the way that you're actually living. Not just the way you're thinking, not just the way you're talking, but the way you're living. And when they have that experience, that will lead them to glorify your Father who is in heaven. So it's a challenge to let what we believe move from our heads into our hearts and ultimately into our hands. So we're living a different way in this world. That might be a little bit challenging to do right now. Like I said, just a couple hours ago, there was an announcement that we are entering in a stay-at-home order. But this is, of course, a challenge for all of our lives, not just this week, not just this month, but this year, next year, and the next year. How do we take our faith from our minds and live it out in our hands? How do we take it from Sunday morning into Wednesday afternoon, so to speak? That's what Jesus wants his followers to do. He reminds them who they are. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. You don't light a lamp and hide it under a bowl. A lamp is put up on a stand so that it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they might see your good deeds and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Have a great day, stay well, and we'll see you next time.